In this course, you're going to create a presentation on an article you have read. So, what is then interesting and important to present from an article? That is what this talk is about. You find this presentation in your It's Learning course. So I'm using an example. This is a paper about briefings in a hospital environment. Why this reminds, or why this is useful in a maritime context, is because handing over a watch, for example, reminds a lot about handing over a patient from the operating room to the ward, to the intensive care unit or whatever. So information has to be passed from the operating room to the nurses taking care of the patient in the, wake up room, intensive care after an operation or something like that. So the context reminds there are several connecting features there, or similar features in both. So it is relevant, and that is also an example about how you can use theory from other fields in a maritime context. The abstract, of course, is important, because here you basically read the whole paper in a comprehensive form, a very tight explanation about what the paper is about. So it gives you an idea about what is to come, so to speak. And of course, this is also a good example about or on your own abstract in your thesis. Then what will your abstract look like? Then this is the introduction from the paper, of course interesting as well, and it's a kind of a small background, but also you see it moves towards, down in the right hand corner, you see they talk about the aim of this research. So here we get a background about crew resource management in aviation, for example, and you are familiar with this in the maritime context, of course. So basically the same. So if the aim was to improve quantity and quality of briefings, then you try to check, in this case, whether an intervention, coaching sessions, is there a difference? Is there an effect of that? So we could, for example, do the same experiment with you guys. You take first we observe how you hand over a watch, then you do the maritime resource management course, and then we have a look at, observe again, whether your briefing has changed when you hand over a watch. Excuse me. Okay. And when you read a paper, this is, I find, important. This is the whole kind of idea about it, trying to apply the paper to your own reality, your own context. What is it that you can learn from it that you can use in your own work? So when you do a presentation about a paper, don't forget that the idea is to relate it to something. We are not doing the presentation only because you have to. There is an idea about why you do it. You want to somehow affect or somehow inspire or whatever about another or your work. So there is indeed an idea with this. Idea. This is also a kind of an description about how you can use theory. You have the framework here. This is the field, the ballpark that they are using when doing this study. So the aim is there to improve communication, to prevent errors. Okay, that's the aim of the paper, or actually the study that was done before the paper then. So and they describe it here, and they describe the context where this experiment kind of was done. Then comes the method. This is of more value maybe when you in your thesis than in this presentation that you are to do for this course, but keep it sort of in your mind for use when doing your thesis. So the method, what did you do, how did you do it, and so on. If you publish a paper, this is not for your thesis, but you can have tables like this. I don't know why you actually couldn't include tables like this in your thesis as well. This would be in the maybe the discussion part of the thesis. In other words, how do you interpret the results that you get from your study? So this could be, more or less the last chapter. Excuse me, in your paper. So the main findings. Here they call them key takeaways, but the main findings. Yeah, I like that, by the way. Here you see this, how can clinicians use these results? And clinicians, in other words, that's the crew. How can you, what are the implications for working on board? Well, education, that's maybe not your piece of cake, so I'll skip that. But then the conclusions are of interest. So what are the final words of the paper you have read? So those give an idea about what you can begin discussing or so on after the presentation as well. So so here they say that they find that these coaching interventions is a good complement to the maritime resource management training. So, and then from there you can go on by discussing, for example, that do we believe it? Would it be possible to use in a maritime context? And go onwards from there. Thank you.